This is the dumbest thing I've heard on the internet in a while. And I'm not trying to say that to be mean. It's just hilariously misinformed.
So if you're a shrewd businessman, you start a church and you can do whatever you want.
That is so completely not true.
You're going to get to enjoy the benefits of our storehouse if there's a natural disaster or if Jesus comes.
What?
And here's the kicker. If you don't give your full tithe, you don't get to benefit.
How do they know?
Oh, they look at your bank statements.
They turn in their bank statements?
Every year at the LDS church, you have to go. Like, I really want to dissect the LDS church with you.
Okay.
They look at our bank statements?
The confidence, though. Like, people need to when are we going to learn how the internet works? He says it so confidently.
Yes.
Like the charisma, the sincerity, the vocal inflection and intonations, the confidence, the immediacy of the response, and it's complete and utter BS.
$300 billion in market assets. The LDS church will hit $1 trillion in market assets in the next decade.
I feel like he's in the position where once you've been a hammer long enough, everything starts to look like a nail.
That not a single dollar of that fund has ever gone to humanitarian purposes or even the church.
What?
The funny thing is, it depends on how you value the temples, because the temples cost way more to build than they would to resell.
This is going to be the easiest debunk on the planet. This episode is brought to you guys by ScriptureNotes.com, the coolest way of reading your scriptures online. For a free trial of Scripture Notes, please make sure you guys visit the links in the description. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Ward Radio. I'm your host, Cardin Ellis. Today I'm joined via Zoom by Luke Hansen and Brad Whitbeck, and we're going to be reacting to this little piece of media on Shawn Ryan clips that has been zooming around the bloggernacle, where looks like we got called out pretty hardcore by the religion business. And a lot of people are saying it's a gish gallop of all kinds of horrible straw men and tropes. Others are saying, man, he's freedom fighting out there, and the Mormon church is exposed. Finally, after 250 years of nobody getting it right, we finally exposed it now. So I brought you guys in to tell us what's going on and react. Who wants to take this one?
Luke, you got this.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to just kind of start with, well, actually, now let's start with the video, because the tweet kind of summarizes what's in the video, but they put the little stinger at the beginning so we can just kind of play the first 30 seconds and then start talking about it.
Okay, cool. So here we go on Shawn Ryan clips. Go.
LDS church is now the second largest private landowner in the U.S. You know, it's because, there these pastors, sexually abusing kids. No, it's because the whole system is broken. They're worth $300 billion, and it's all for-profit ventures registered as churches.
Wow. $300 billion.
$300 billion in market assets. The LDS church will hit $1 trillion in market assets in the next decade.
Okay. So,
and then you could see in the tweet that he says, and none of that, or I might even say it in the next 5 seconds of the video, and none of that goes towards the church or humanitarian purposes.
Okay, which is obvious garbage, because it's the only reason why they have private. Even Elder Bednar, in his interview with the owner of the Utah Jazz, said, yeah, our assets are not revenue generating, revenue losing. So, okay, well, should we let him play the video? Oh, gosh,
well,
it's so long.
Because we need to talk about this, how the church is actually broken down. So, number one, we don't quite know how much money the church has, but because there's certain reports that are done, and, when you buy land, you know the company that bought the land, and so you can track it that way. You've covered news articles like this. So if you pull up the most recent, and you could call this an antagonistic source, the most recent thing that I put in the Discord.
Got it. It's on the screen.
Widows Might Report,
yeah,
which is kind of watchdog accountability. So, you could lean antagonistic, might be what you could classify this as. And this is more of the actual estimate. The $300 billion that he gave is the total assets of the church. I put a tweet up on X as a joke saying that I was so jazzed to hear that the church's investment arm has spiked by 50% in like a month since last we heard about it.
Okay.
But then I was super disappointed because what he did was he lumped in the estimated value of BYU, of the temples, of the chapels, all that kind of stuff, the missionary effort and housing.
Luke, those are all liquid assets that are
market
just being
assets,
hoarded.
I think is what he said.
Yeah.
Market assets. Yeah. No, the church's market assets is more in like a little under 200 million. And then you add everything else on top of that, the hard assets that actually are going to humanitarian and church purposes that he said not a dollar went to. That's how you get to 300 billion.
Yeah.
Although I'm fascinated to hear how he thinks it's going to get to $1 trillion in 10 years. I mean, if somebody knows how to triple an investment in 10 years, that sounds like
inflation alone will do that for us. Like,
I was
all
gonna
they have
say-
to do is hold strong.
it's not really $1 trillion then at that point, though.
I think we're already there. I'll be honest with you. I think we're already there.
The funny thing is it depends on how you value the temples, because the temples cost way more to build than they would to resell, because they have very, very little resale value because nobody else has any need for what a temple is. If it was a cathedral, that would maintain value in any scenario because it's a large meeting space that's very beautiful. Temples aren't that.
Interesting. Okay.
So,
okay, that's actually a really good point. And yeah, I like that. I've never thought of it that way. I will say, before we start in the rest of this video, I actually reached out to these guys on Instagram when they first started, and they were kind of not kickstarting, but just starting the social media for their show. And as somebody who is actively converting WardRadio into a 501c3, going through the paperwork with lawyers and studying the crap out of this, it has blown my mind the vulnerabilities that our tax code has for abuse by people who just simply don't mind lying. In order to preserve, you know exactly what I'm saying, is in order to preserve our religious freedom, I actually feel very blessed and lucky to live in a nation that does allow for 501c3s and tax exempt sport leagues and values social cohesion, social fabric. I believe the actual technical term is human flourishing, enough to say, hey, we're going to alleviate you of the burden of taxation because we appreciate what you're doing to create a public space, a public sphere, so on and so forth. I feel blessed to live in that country, but it is a system that's based off of trust. And the only way it works is if people in a trustworthy fashion self-report properly. And they're not. There are some horrible abuses, but I think he's got a little bit of a blind spot here because he seems a man on a mission to uncover church abuse, which, trust me, I value, and I've been aghast at some of the loopholes I've seen getting exploited. But also the loopholes exist because there's good people that don't exploit them. And what if, Monsieur Religion Business, what if you got it wrong on one of these churches? That they're actually consecrating funds and doing things right. Yeah, keep going.
I feel like he's in the position where once you've been a hammer long enough, everything starts to look like a nail, right?
Okay.
And so he's just kind of treating this as though it is literally any other religion. This one just has the highest price tag, right? Now, I put a clip in the Discord that I think we need to watch. I think we need to see this one because it shows you just how little he actually knows about our church.
Okay. So play the clip before the rest of the clip that I'm playing right now. This new clip. All right.
It's from the same video.
Okay. So Here we go. Here's the clip. Here it is. On Dr. Monhatva's. Okay. I don't want to know what's going on, but I kind of do. Here we go.
Like, I really want to dissect the LDS church with you. They have farms. And so they say, hey, we're building our storehouse. So this is Old Testament Torah. So we're going to have goods and supplies in the storehouse, sufficient in God's storehouse. So they're quoting Malachi. And if you've tithed to us, if you've given your full tithe, you're going to get to enjoy the benefits of our storehouse if there's a natural disaster or if Jesus comes.
What?
Yeah.
So they're building their conglomerate, demanding you give 10% of your gross revenue to them. And then you'll be able to benefit from us if something happens. And here's the kicker. If you don't give your full tithe, you don't get to
Okay.
No. Oh, wait. Let him finish that sentence.
Yeah.
Okay.
benefit.
I'll go back
If
to
you don't give your full tithe, you don't get to benefit.
How do they know?
Oh, they look at your bank statements.
Oh, wait, pause.
They turn in their bank statements.
This is the dumbest thing I've heard on the internet in a while. And I'm not trying to say that to be mean. It's just hilariously misinformed. And I'm maybe this guy, I think he's in the position where he's audited so many of these things. He just thinks every single one of them is a nail, right? But dude, that is not how the bishop's storehouses work.
Dude.
Like, not even close.
If there was an absolutely worse take or understanding on the bishop's story, our church hemorrhages money in welfare through the bishop's storehouse in loss to countless thousands, if not millions of people every year with their wildly religiously zealous gift of food and home goods to people in need, not just regardless of their tithe paying status within the church, regardless of their membership. You don't even have to be Mormon to receive the help that the bishop's storehouse is dishing out to people all over the world. They do in Muslim countries where they don't even allow proselyting of our church. They're dumping millions of dollars of food. This is crazy.
And he is sitting here presenting it as though the church uses tithing to like force you into they like have this bait of the bishop's storehouse that if you're actively paying your tithing, then you can benefit from this. But man, if you miss a single payment, then if things go south, you won't have access to the bishop's storehouse.
Yeah, watch out. You don't want to miss out on that canned wheat, bro.
As if we don't already, like the majority of the members already have their own food storage. Like what? Where has this guy been? What is he researching? Who told him this? And keep going with the clip because it gets better.
Oh my gosh, it keeps going. Go.
House if there's a natural disaster or if Jesus comes. So they're building their conglomerate, demanding you give 10% of your gross revenue to them.
Wait, what? That's not. Oh, okay.
And then you'll be able to benefit from us if something happens. And here's the kicker. If you don't give your full tithe, you don't get to benefit.
How do they know?
Oh, they look at your bank statements.
They turn in their bank statements.
Every year at the LDS church, you have to go. Like, I really want to dissect the LDS church with you.
Okay.
I mean, they look at our bank statements.
Like, the confidence, though. Like, people need to when are we going to learn how the internet works? He says it so confidently.
Yes.
Like the charisma, the sincerity, the vocal inflection and intonations, the confidence, the immediacy of the response, and it's complete and utter BS. It's remarkable. I almost can't even be mad because he's allegedly the expert, and then he's just like spouting this complete nonsense.
The audacity.
It's insane. Yeah.
Oh,
so,
dude.
Carden, could we quickly role play what a bishop's tithing settlement tends to look like?
Okay.
You be the bishop and I'll.
Okay, well, first I have to be stressed out, late, overweight.
I'll be the ward clerk,
You'll
just like out in the hallway, kind of waiting
Awesome.
for the next person to come.
Okay, here we go. Okay. Hey, Brother Whitbeck, what's going on, man? How you doing? Everything all good?
Going great. Yeah. Family's doing well.
Okay, cool, sweet. I gotta go in like 5 minutes. Like the plumbing ruptured in the young women. It's something with the relief set. Do you pay a full tithe, bro?
Yeah.
Okay, good, awesome. Is everything good at home?
Yeah. Things are going well. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, no sweat. Do you need anything from me? Do I owe you money? Did I forget to reimburse you for gas or something for like the young men's trip? Or we're all good?
No, we're square.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry. I have to go. I'll see you soon. See you on Sunday?
Yeah. See you then.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Thanks. Wait, are you sure you don't have my family hidden away in the maintenance closet and you're not going to give them back unless I provide my W-2s to prove to you that I am a full-time payer? Like, what does he think is happening? Like,
I mean, the absolute most charitable you could get is that sometimes they'll print off or just have you look up how much you gave that year, just to be like, does everything look good there? And then you say, At least that's what I've seen
that's
done
for
before.
your tax
And then you're like,
returns.
yep.
Yeah, it's for your tax returns. Like, there's a
Yeah,
thing that I
that's
can
partly
print
the
off.
thing. Yeah.
Okay, so
you
guys,
could deduct your taxes from it.
this is going to be the easiest debunk on the planet. How many of you guys here, we've all been lifetime members who've paid our tithing our entire lives. How many times have you presented your bank statements to the bishop? Zero.
Many times.
Never once.
Oh my gosh.
It's just nuts, dude.
I have never, and my family has never had a bishop or bishopric member even comment about like paying tithing. Not like they haven't given a talk about it, but like a personal comment outside of tithing settlement about mine or any other member's tithing payment. I'll confess a little bit here. With fast offerings, I kind of forget. And so usually I kind of like every 3 months, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, how much do I want to give? Okay, multiply that by 3. All right, that's my fast offering per month. Nothing. I don't hear it. Like same with tithing. It's like, oh man, it's been a while since I've done that. Hop on. All right, when was the last time?
Yeah.
Nothing like, Brother Hanson, it's been 4 months. How's your temper recommend still valid?
I guarantee you.
Never.
I guarantee you, if you asked my bishop, hey, when was the last time so-and-so in the ward paid their tithing? He would have no idea.
Unless they paid in cash and they had to count it out and
Yes.
take it to the bank.
Dude, okay.
Then they would know. Well, and here's the funny thing, because you can always find a problem with it. And so if the church only gives stuff to the people within the church that have been paying, it's like, oh, they're holding the members hostage. But then if the church gave it to other people outside of the church, especially in third world countries, then it's, oh, the church is just trying to shower them with money and food and all this stuff to get new members, to make themselves look good. Like, you can take the cynical approach no matter which way the church approaches it. And they kind of do the middle. They preference the members, they have a preference for the members, but then also give without respect to religion in natural disaster circumstances, for instance.
Well, and the crazy thing was Dr. Monhava just fact checked him with Grok here. And I'm not saying AI doesn't mess up, but he literally said, hey, Grok, which religious institution donates the most to charity? Grok comes back and says, based on diverse sources, the Catholic Church is frequently cited as the largest charitable provider globally, with affiliates spending billions annually on aid, education, and health. And this is true to what was said in our live stream yesterday, that one of the church's biggest partners is Catholic Charities. And then it says the LDS Church reported $1.45 billion in humanitarian aid in 2024. So there we are. Mormons lead in per capita giving, followed by evangelicals. Figures vary due to decentralized structures. Yeah, so literally, even Grok, using open source donation information, knows that Mormons donate more in per capita giving. Like, that's such a big stat to throw at this. I can't believe it. So should we go through the original video here now really fast? Just burn through, see what else he has to say. This is wild, my man. This is absolutely wild. Okay, this is where we start.
The LDS Church petitioned the IRS to add the term auxiliary in front of church in the 60s. And it was men's clubs back in the day. So men would meet up, smoke cigars, hang out, talk. And they're like, this is technically church.
Also known as the golden era.
Well, there's no definition, black and white definition of what an auxiliary is. So if there's no definition, anything can be an auxiliary. So the LDS Church registers their investment fund as an auxiliary, which means that auxiliary is technically a church. It gets the same benefits that the church gets. Flash forward 27 years, they're worth $300 billion.
Okay, wait, hold on. No, okay, that's not true. The church has a lot of private companies that are held as 100% fully legitimate registered private companies that do indeed pay taxes on their profit, but their board of directors is dominated by apostles, and that's how they maintain control of the private companies. So there could never be a hostile takeover of these private companies unless you became apostle in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So you would need like 2 out of 3 of the board of directors of this corporation to become apostles in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And why on earth would you live an entire life of giving, tithing, showing up to bishops' interviews, doing service projects, volunteering for early morning seminary, and so on and so forth, just to become one of the 2/3 board members of Bonneville Communications in the West Coast, right? So this is a misrepresentation. He's acting as though the church just wants to go make money. So it lies about whether or not Bonneville Communications is a church or a private entity. And then when it receives a bunch of money that it should be paying taxes on, it skips out on the taxes and then just goes and does a Kenneth Copeland and lives out on some yachts. This is not a fair representation of what the church does. And I've studied how they maintain their private assets, and it is unimpeachable, fully legal, and ethical. He's missing something here. This isn't Kenneth Copeland with a 19,000 square foot
He's actually going to bring that up like right after this in the video. But 501c3 law is a little complicated and very gray and iffy. And I'm saying that as somebody who has worked in 501c3s and has had to navigate that kind of stuff. I have no idea what he's talking about. And I've been trying to look it up and see what he's talking about. As far as I can tell, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, because I'm not going to say something with confidence that I don't actually know what I'm talking about. But as far as I can tell, this auxiliary church thing he's making a lot of hay about was actually a change in the IRS code to employ more restrictions and oversight on 501c3 organizations. He's making it seem like in 1969, they just let the churches do whatever they want because we're a church. We don't have to be taxed for anything we do. No, 501c3s, and actually Connor Boyack pointed this out in the comments as a 501c3 founder himself. You can do like whatever you want as a 501c3. Harvard and Yale have massive endowments that have way more money per employee and student of the university than the church has per member of the church. Way larger. And that's fine. And they can do that and have investments and they're not taxed. The church does the same thing. What happened in 1969 with this auxiliary term, integrated auxiliaries that came into play, was it got narrowed so only churches were the ones that didn't have to file the reports. So now other institutions that had auxiliary organizations making money for them that previously didn't have to file, now they do have to file, and churches were the only ones that maintained the exemption, is what I got from trying to look into this a little bit. So he's completely misconstruing it, rather than these churches getting a break because they got together in a cigar lounge and figured out how to dupe the IRS into having them keep their money. What really happened was they narrowed things down. Things became more restrictive and regulated, and only churches maintained the exemption that they'd already had since like 1913 when 501c3 went into effect.
Yeah.
So not getting the history right at all, as long as I'm understanding what I'm reading correctly, because corporate law is...
But
it's
doing a very
law.
good job of presenting the church as a malicious entity while doing so.
Doing great at that, yes.
Yeah.
Let's go.
The LDS Church petitioned the IRS to add the term auxiliary in front of church in the 60s. And it was men's clubs back in the day. So men would meet up, smoke cigars, hang out, talk. And they're like, this is technically church. And so the IRS added this term auxiliary to their definition.
So he's saying that the
no
LDS church guys who are just out there smoking cigars, they're the ones petitioning. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Keep going.
Definition, black and white definition of what an auxiliary is. So if there's no definition, anything can be an auxiliary. So the LDS church registers their investment fund as an auxiliary, which means that auxiliary is technically a church. It gets the same benefits that the church gets. Flash forward.
Well, first off, no, it's not the exact same thing in the church, nor does it get all the exact same benefits. All of these institutions actually get a lot of scrutiny, no matter your size. Like, for example, here in California, and also this might just be a California thing, I admit, you can't have a 501c3 larger than $2 million without a mandatory yearly audit. Do you know that, guys? Like someday if I get big enough to be even half the size of like Scripture Central, which is a small 501c3 in the big scheme of things, when I get to be hopefully as big as More Good and, you know, all these other people, I won't be 25% the size of Scripture Central last year before I have a mandatory audit triggered by the state of California that has to be done by a third-party accounting firm that I have to hire at my expense. Like, think about that. You don't just get away with becoming 300 trillion overnight as you're getting audited every single year by the state you're functioning in. That's a wild misrepresentation, and it makes the state look incompetent. Yeah.
Well, you do when you fast forward, what was it, 30 years? How many years did he go?
Exactly. Okay, so here he goes. He continues.
For 27 years, they're worth $300 billion, and it's all for-profit ventures registered as churches.
Okay, no, it's not all for-profit businesses registered as churches. Can you
go back a little bit and see what he said in context?
Okay, here we go.
Flash forward 27 years, they're worth $300 billion, and it's all for-profit ventures registered as churches.
Wow. 300
So he's
billion.
trying to say, wait. So he's trying to say the 1969 IRS narrowing of the tax code exemptions sparked the church's massive growth in Ensign Peak? That sounds like what he's saying, right?
Kind of sounds like that.
That seems to be what he's trying to say, which is it's just completely wrong because once again, all the church did was maintain the same exemption. So literally nothing happened in the church in the 1960s. The only thing that happened is that nothing happened to them when the IRS changed the code up, from what I'm seeing. And we know why, like, this isn't a mystery. There's a book out about this. I forget the guy's name, and he's not a member of the church. He's an ex-Mormon, actually. The reason why the church exploded in the 1960s from near bankruptcy to up 300 billion, which actually is only 200 billion in the investments today, is because they tightened the belt, and especially on the buildings, on the church building program, they really tightened it up. They canceled a lot of projects. They were really disciplined, and Eldon Tanner played a big part in that when he became part of the first presidency, I believe. And that's how we got to where we are today. Basically saving about 15% per year and investing it intelligently for the past 80 years or so. Insane. 60 years or so. It's an insane story when you think about it. Like, from Joseph Smith, the church is always struggling. People say he's a con man, but then he's having people just dump all their money into a really nice building that he's calling a temple so that they can worship together. They get kicked out of that. They go to Nauvoo, and okay, now it's time for this con man to make all his buku bucks and live nicely. No, he's having them dump all their time and energy into another one of these temples again. They get kicked out after he gets killed. They finish the temple knowing that, you know, they're going to get kicked out. Anyways, use it for a couple months, leave, go across the plains. Okay, now Brigham Young's in charge. The government's not going to get involved. They're way out in the middle of the plains. Now it's time for the con to take place. He can basically, he's building another temple. This one's going to take 40 years. Okay, then. Just for Brigham Young, it's like his own person. Oh, no, all the saints are going to get to use it. Oh, wait, and he's doing one down in St. George and up in Logan. Wow, okay. Yeah. Church is struggling, fighting off the government, fighting to, maintain out there in the desert with famine and all that stuff. And then in 1918, they almost go into bankruptcy again. They get out of that by reemphasizing tithing. 1960, they're almost at bankruptcy again. The church has been financially struggling for the past 130 years. They tighten the belt, and in one person's lifetime, they go from near bankruptcy to 200 something odd billion dollars in an investment firm. And they're doing crazy things like building hundreds of temples all around the world, exploding in Africa, farmland all over the place. They're building the largest assembly center of its kind in Salt Lake City with the conference center, with a garden and waterfall on the top and a massive parking garage underneath. And they're doing it in 3 years. It takes 5 years to build a nuclear power plant. And they're building this one-of-a-kind, bespoke, world record-breaking conference center in 3 years on Temple Square. And the investment fund's still just going up up and up and up. So it's actually, if you decide not to look at it cynically, it's a remarkable story. But, you know, money bad or something. So that pastor bad over there, that pastor in Texas has a private jet, 4 of them. So therefore LDS church bad. It's like,
I really like your take, Brad, where you said, if you live long enough as a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And I really do think that that's what's going on here. So let's let him play one more minute. Let's just go for another 90 seconds. See what he's got to say.
$1 billion in market assets. The LDS church will hit $1 trillion in market assets in the next decade, all under the guise of a religious institution. And the crazy part is not $1 of that. Now it's a hedge fund because they're hedging. That not a single dollar of that fund has ever gone to humanitarian purposes or even the church.
What?
Cardin, notice what he said. His complaint is specifically that the church is not donating money out of its investment firm. Do you know anyone who donates from their investments? Like, do you personally, as you have your stocks and options working and gaining you some like return, do you just pull out of that and give that to people? Or do you maybe have a different account from which you operate, right?
Wait,
like,
Brad, are you telling me I'm not supposed to be paying my tithing out of my 401k?
Actually, you technically can't you? Like, or at least stocks. You can sell stocks to the church as part of your tithing, if I'm not mistaken. But the thing that he's kind of complaining about here, or at least how it sounded to me, is that he is saying the church hasn't put the money from their investments toward humanitarian aid. Forget the $1 billion that they have actually done in humanitarian aid and all of the service and everything. Does that $1 billion in humanitarian aid, does that count our fast offerings or no?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I was actually looking at that and I think it does.
Okay. Because it's like, look, this is straight out of members giving stuff to people and trying to lift their fellow man. And then the church taking all sorts of things that it can to uplift other people, like Cardin was saying. We have this farmland that he seems very disturbed that the church has. It's being used to provide food to the poor. Like, this is not the doomsday scenario that he's painting where the church is like, oh yeah, we're going to make all of this stuff and store it away and you only have access if you're a full tithe payer. Show us your W-2s.
Well, and like, the only other thing too is that Brad, he literally says none of it goes to the church. Where did the hundreds of millions of dollars that bailed out Beneficial Life and kept the state of Utah from going into like a short-term economic collapse period when the economy tanked, where'd that money all come from? That came from profit from the investments of the church. Like most economists are always saying there's a place for churches, at least the Republican ones, and like the so-called capitalist ones are always talking about how like governmental overreach, like this should be the domain of churches and private charity and not of government and so on and so forth. The only time I've ever seen a private institution bail out a company and not the government was when the church bailed out Beneficial Life in order to keep it from collapsing and keep it from defaulting on a bunch of insurance. You know, that was a wildly benevolent thing to do. You know, keep the old lady's house insurance still intact instead of defaulting on it right in the middle of an economic crisis like that. That's insane to me to say that. And he didn't even hedge. He he went full blown, man. There was no asterisks in that statement. Okay, we continue.
So if you're a shrewd businessman, you start a church and you can do whatever you want.
That is so completely not true. There is no bylaw in the IRS tax code that says you start a church, you can do whatever you want.
And so you wonder why, oh man, Christianity is getting a bad rap right now. You know, it's because, there are these pastors, sexually abusing kids. No, it's because the whole system is broken.
Actually, no, I'll tell you right now, I guarantee you the people that have an issue with Catholicism, it's more about the pre-scandal than it is about the wealth of their cathedral. And I guarantee you it's more about things like abuse, more about purity culture than it is about how they spend their money. The biggest problem people have with Christians in North America, I would actually argue, is their social behavior coming across as judgmental, not whether or not Kenneth Copeland abuses his system and walks away with a couple extra million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, should we keep going? Or you guys got something to say?
Keep going.
Okay.
System. So that's what needs to be reformed.
Yeah, I mean, we see this all the time. I mean, pastors with runways behind their house, 4 private jets. I mean,
yeah,
I know it's insane.
Well, the private jet can be registered as a house of worship in Texas, so you don't pay tax on the jets.
Huh? It can be registered as what?
As a house of worship, because you pray on it. So a private jet, a $20 million jet, is tax-free because it's a house of worship.
Is that an auxiliary as well?
It's just an asset of the church, but it's a house of worship. It's part of it. It's your building, basically.
Okay. Now, my question right now is, yeah, on its face, that sounds really, really stupid. And I'm not here to defend that. In fact, I would ask our boy here from the Business of Religion, can you show us the LDS Church's private jet? I've literally bumped into, by the way, actually, I would hope they have a private jet, at least for the prophet in emergency situations, in order to get him to and from places that might not offer commercial flights as securely, especially as our church gets bigger from a safety perspective. All right. But I've bumped into Elder Uchtdorf. The first time I met an apostle was in the airport, guys. It was flying commercial out of Burbank International Airport. It was
Elder Uchtdorf.
And it was Elder Uchtdorf, and I know exactly. He was in Terminal A in Burbank, California, flying regular commercial. I bumped into Brad Wilcox last time we went to Salt Lake City, right outside of Terminal C, before you go to that weird looking room in the Salt Lake City International Airport. Like, we don't have some long and storied history of private jets. So I get that this is just an anecdote to show loopholes in the system,
and it sounds like it's more of a complaint against general churches, but here he is trying to loop it back into our church, where our church leaders don't have private jets. There may be some things that the church, like they have some aircraft. We talked with Mike Ball about this, right? Mm-hmm. Where there's some aircraft that they work with, but like it is not as if this is the pastor's private jet that they own and they have 4 of them, right? The explicit thing said by the host right before the guest tries tying it back to our church.
Okay, so I guess 30 more seconds here. Let's see what he does.
The IRS sees it as your building.
So with these loopholes, you could basically purchase just about any vehicle, any plane, any piece
Correct.
of real estate,
any
building.
And a lot of times, so the LDS Church is now the second largest private landowner in the U.S. 2.3 million acres.
Wow. Awesome.
Tax-free. All under the guise of religion and freedom of religion.
Okay.
Under the guise of religion? Come on, man. Like, what are you saying?
When it's like, what view of government does this guy even have? It's like, the grave immoral act of wanting to pay less taxes. Like, do people deserve, if the church has farmland that they're going to use for humanitarian purposes or to have a storehouse or something, like, what is the grave moral evil in them not giving 10% of that, 15% of it, whatever corporate tax rate is going to apply to them per year to the federal government to give to you?
No,
why is it so gravely evil that they don't have to give all that money to the government?
So yes. I get the whole, why would you defend the government argument? But also, just to me, this whole premise is so wrong because it's completely misrepresenting what that land that is held as an asset by the church actually does. Take the beef farm down in Florida. They raise a bunch of cows that end up getting slaughtered, canned, packed, and sent as protein to malnourished and underprivileged families that need free food at a loss. Not only is it not profitable, it is less than profitable and a burden on the church. Now, yes, there's 5,000 of those acres. And yes, you could sell those 5,000 acres to a profitable cattle ranch that would sell the cattle at a profit and would need land that large. So there is a price tag associated with it. 5,000 acres, I don't know what it's worth in Florida, but let's just say it's $50 million. So yes, there's $50 million that are on the church's list of assets, but they're not actually operated profitably. Those profits, not only are they not made, they're given away and the whole thing is operated at a loss. So to go on Shawn Ryan and say, oh, this is all just, capitalism and profitability masquerading as religion in order to conceal the profitability from taxation, that's a wild misstatement.
I can understand where he's coming from when I look at it from the position of like, you have some mega pastors who are personally enriching themselves off of the backs of their congregations in ways that I think seem to be using the name of God in vain, They are going out to personally enrich themselves. What does he think is happening with the church? Like, who is personally enriching themselves? Like our Quorum of the 12, our 70s, they are constantly traveling and doing everything that they can to like just preach the gospel and lift people up. Like they don't have these outrageous things that they just talked about. They don't have 4 private jets. They don't have these kind of excess wealth that you would expect from someone that's just trying to enrich themselves. So like, is the concern that the church itself is just banking things? Because to me, that feels like a Joseph of Egypt situation, right? Where, this is the dude who's mad that they've kept all of this grain in these bins for the past 6 years. Why are they storing all of this grain? This is so horrible that they're doing this. Why aren't they sending this out to more people when they need it? It's like, bro, give it a year and you'll see why, right?
Okay.
I don't see the church doing this in some way that's enriching people where they're taking the wealth of their people who are paying their tithing and then using it to personally enrich themselves. It's just weird.
So, Luke, Brad, do you guys have any other clips we can? I mean, this goes on for 9 minutes, and I can't stand another 1 minute, let alone 9. Do you have any clips? I feel like
he's made basically all the points in that video.
Okay.
Do you recall anything else, Brad, that he said? I don't think he said anything else new.
Yeah, no, my favorite is just the characterization of bishops withholding stuff from you unless you pay your tithing. Wow. Show me your W-2.
You have to submit the bank statements to him.
Dude, that is crazy.
Like, who told him that? What was that? In what case was that ever a situation? I have never heard an accusation like that.
Even Alyssa Grenfell hasn't said something like that, to my knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that is a very, very, very low bar. Like, that's really interesting.
Yes,
that's funny.
You didn't pass the Grenfell test.
Oh my goodness gracious. Is it like that one, the Mendoza line in baseball now? We call it the Grenfell test, right?
The Grenfell line of anti-Mormonism.
The Grenfell line of anti-Mormonism claims.
Yeah, in the Discord, I slapped in another graphic from the Widow's Mite report.
Okay.
And it estimates church salaries, like salary compensation, whatever you want to call it, for Q15, 70s, all that kind of stuff. It estimates it at just a little over 200,000 a year, which in Northern Salt Lake doesn't get you too far. I could see why President Nelson's vacuuming his own carpets in a flannel shirt at the age of 98, like that picture that he shared a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you compare this because and Brad, I think you made this point really well, where they tried to compare it to a charitable organization's giving versus the church. He's ticking the church investment arm for not giving to charity. And some people tried to say like, oh, well, how much % does the church give of its income versus Catholic charities? It's like, okay, So the Catholic Charities is the charitable branch of Catholic churches. So they're going to give charity. And then the church side of it, that is not part of Catholic Charities, doesn't, because Catholic Charities is the one doing the charity. And so it's a complete apples to oranges. But the way that 501c3s work is that like people make money at these things. John Hopkins, the top 10 people in that 501c3, tax exempt, they're avoiding taxes that they're supposed to be paying, according to this guy. They're all making like $1 million plus a year from this charitable organization. St. Jude's, that's like all we give children free cancer treatment. 52 churches in 52 weeks. David Boyce is raising money for them. Their top dogs make hundreds of thousands of dollars from this 501c3 per year. Like, you could have a problem with it if you want to, but like, that's just how these are run, is that even though they're nonprofits, the top dogs make like lots of money, at least relative to the baseline population. Maybe they'd make more if they had a similar capacity at a similarly sized organization that wasn't 501c3. But like, the church is perfectly in line. The only thing that is unusual about the church is the size of their fund, the size of it, the scope of it. However, even compared to something like Harvard, Yale, and their endowments, they're sitting at millions of dollars in their endowments per student. And I was looking it up while you guys were talking. Harvard, like half of their expenditures is philanthropy, but they still charge, so they're spending several $billion a year on philanthropy, but they're still charging their students $60,000 a year in tuition. And they have millions of dollars in the bank in investments per student that's at the university. So you could compare the church to Harvard and say, oh, look, Harvard has way more philanthropy. And it's like, well, what if we looked at how much money they have per student versus how much money the church has per member? And all of a sudden it becomes, two orders of magnitude of difference between the two. So you can always kind of massage the numbers to get whatever outcome you want to, and you can make the church look bad if you want to. And then if you look at it from another way, you can make the church look really good. And I think, like Brad is saying, if you're a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, we're gonna put the link to this in the description of the video so you guys can watch the whole thing yourself. But I gotta say, man, was this disappointing? But the comments weren't. I mean, this was absolutely hilarious. True. They've got really good references here to previous speeches given by authorities in the church that were approached about finances. Clint Teeples coming in strong, man. This Clint Teeples account,
dude, he's the best.
Dude, he's always got such bangers, man. Like, I want to get that guy in the studio. I don't know how to do it, but Clint Teeples, if you're out there, man, you got an invite here. Your channel's great. So let us know what you guys think in the comments below. If you'd like to contribute to our channel financially, please come with your W-2s in a WardRadio shirt. And then if you don't purchase a War in Heaven veteran hat, then you will not be going to heaven. In fact, you will be going to hell. And I'm just kidding. Did you see that part of the video? I saw that part of the video floating around in a clip as well, where he said, like, if you don't get your temple recommend, like, your family can't go to heaven, or if you don't pay 10%, your family can't get into heaven. It was something absurd. Go look for that clip yourself, like, guys.
It's such a ridiculous misrepresentation of our actual beliefs.
Yes, exactly. It's beyond disappointing. So anyway, if you guys want to contribute to our channel, please consider a generous contribution through Zelle or Venmo. We're available on both of those platforms. I almost feel like I have to say this twice now just to lean into the meme, like, put your hand on the box, and just pull like a total Kenneth Copeland, but I don't have to because our viewers are very generous. Support us if you can. We're grateful for all the help that you give us. Others have contributed through the Amazon wish list. Thank you very much, Brad and Luke, for hanging out with us. Brad, oh wait. Is your other book coming out, bro? Is your book out, man?
I'll have announcements about that later.
Okay, awesome. All right, that's good to hear. For this and more, please make sure you check us out at WardRadio.